All right, we'll call our November meeting to order. And at this time, we'll ask Mr. Michael Williams if he'd open us in prayer and then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. Bow his prayer. God, we're just so grateful and thankful just to be here today. We ask that you continue to just endow with your Holy Spirit. Just give knowledge and wisdom and decisions and the comments and participation if we have any today. Just continue to bless this board, bless the administration, and all those who have a part in this school system. In your name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Again, let's stand. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Next on our agenda are the consent items, which consist of our agenda and the minutes of the October 9th and November 5th meetings. We have a motion by Mr. Bode to accept the consent items. A second by Mr. Cox. All in favor? Unanimous. We have no public participation, so we're going to go into our financials. Ms. Buffer.
Okay. I feel like I'm kind of a broken record here, but we'll start with the general fund. Again, the tax bills have now gone out, but have not, were not out until late. And I don't know if you noticed on yours when you got them at home, but they are technically not due until January 20th. So people have until January to pay. We're hoping that they will go ahead and pay early so that we'll collect more in December as we usually do. But we'll see how that goes. So right now, we're at 3.23% on our local taxes, but that's fairly normal this time of year. I look back at last year's and we were at 3.04%. So we're running right in line with what it should be. So we've got 22.53% of our revenues, excuse me, with 33 1/3 of our fiscal year complete. On our expenditure side, we've got 31.79. Again, you see some of those are a little bit higher, but normal for this time of year where we pay 100% on some things at the beginning of the year. So everything looks to be in line. On our balance sheet, we've got cash in the bank of about $1.5 million, and our fund balance has gone down to $708,000, which is a little bit low, but we know part of that is the taxes, and it should start going up once we start collecting those. On our SPLOS collection, so SPLOS was down a little this month, $48,128 compared to the $53,000 last year and $53,000 last month. But our average is still over $50,000 per month because we've had good months the 3 previous months. So hopefully that is not an indication of what's going to be happening in the next couple of months, and it'll bump back up in the middle 50s there.
We don't have any, I'm sorry, we don't have any idea what controls that. I mean, that's $9,000 from the previous month, is that right? No, $9,000 from 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just curious as to what would make that thing fluctuate $9,000 over that period of time.
People going to the lake, buying gas.
Well, I realize that, but I mean, that was, well, I guess that was August. Yeah, it could
The
be
summer
that.
stuff, yeah, and then it depends too on when people pay, you know, it's due by the 20th of the next month, but some people don't pay, and so they're paying it out as they get it.
Right.
So, it could be that some people are just a little slow paying this time of year, I don't know. But, I mean, you can see from last year, there were some big jumps like that.
Mm-hmm.
But just not, it hasn't gone down that much since, March of this year, so hopefully that's just a one-time
And
thing.
that could be it. It could be late through.
Yeah. As far as the balances in the accounts, the SPLOST account has $462,950.46, and the bond tax account, you can come down to the next one. There you go, 462. And then the bond tax account has $258,000, so we've got a total of $721,000 there towards our bond interest and principal payment that's due on April 1st. So hopefully that bond tax will come on in, and we'll make sure we got that April 1st payment ready, but I don't think that'll be a problem. On the capital projects, we did make the payment for the tile in the teacher workroom at the elementary school, so we have a zero balance there. Dr. Light has a couple of projects I think he's going to presenting to you. I went ahead and listed one on here. We had a quote on it. We didn't have the actual quote when I prepared these a couple of weeks ago, because I was at a conference last week. So, but I did want to go ahead and list it just so you got an idea that those are projects we're considering, to see what we have available for the remainder of our projects. Right now, we've got 76,000 in the account, but we're estimating the other projects, the Stadium School Board and the iView would be about 16,800, leaving us 59,000 for the remaining projects and anything that comes up during the year. Any other questions?
Any questions? All right, thank you, ma'am. Next on the agenda is the 2019-2020 school system calendar.
2020 calendar, seemed like it was forever ago. We are looking at the calendar for 1920, and the teachers were receiving the calendar from the principals. They met with their leadership team, discussed it, and it has gone back and forth. And at this point, the calendar that is in front of you has been approved by all 3 schools. The major differences between this calendar and the current one that we're in is we will have 1 teacher work day in December prior to Christmas break, and then 1 teacher work day after we get back in January. The calendar we're in has 2 at that time. And then the winter holiday was President's Day, but President's Day would have fallen on Valentine's Day. So they recommended we move it back to 21 and 24. So those are the 2 major differences.
This is my first calendar that won't impact any of my kids, so I'll let y'all speak on this one. Any comments to it? You know, you said all the principals have, it's been reviewed
Yes, sir.
back and forth, so.
The principals are good with it, I'm good with it.
Mr. Fogarty makes a motion to accept the calendar as presented. Have a second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Next is IVU upgrade.
The iView system is the computer software and server that controls our HVAC system in the middle high school. When it was installed, it was a 4.2 system, and now that system is up to 7. The current system does not communicate well or at all on some of our units, and the reason for that is the software no longer has any patches available to make them communicate any longer. It is a sole source item, so we were looking at $7,800 to upgrade the software, and it comes with a server. If we don't do this and try and convert it to a different software package, it would be more expensive, and we'd have to change some components in the HVAC system. So it just makes sense to me to upgrade the system. And I am recommending that we use the capital projects fund to cost that $7,800.
And this is a system that allows all of it to be controlled from the offices?
From the principal's offices or from Dr. Gumby's house. If I call him and say, please turn on the heat in the auditorium, which has happened before.
Doing this, the information, I mean, as far as how it's controlled, won't be a new learning curve just by doing this upgrade.
There's training with this, but there's not supposed to be much of a difference from the operator standpoint, but from the computing standpoint, there's quite a difference. It's supposed to be easier and more comprehensive for the people fixing the machines.
Make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Madison, second by Mr. Cox. All in favor? That's unanimous. Next is stucco at the elementary school.
We have been talking about the stucco at the elementary school that continues to show wear. They get the algae and or dirt pressure washed about every 2 years. and that stucco continues to deteriorate over time. It all needs attention. Some of it needs painted, some of it needs repaired and then painted. So we were trying to get 3 bids. We started with Alan Austin, who quickly gave us a bid. I contacted Mr. Cox, and he recommended a company. They gave us a bid, and Georgia Drywall finally gave us a bid. So you can see that the lowest bid there is Alan Austin, so I'm recommending that we use him as our repair for the stucco and painting of the elementary school exterior.
Well, let me ask a question.
Sure.
If they're fixing the stucco, why are they painting it?
Because they're trying to make it that beige color that would match the whole thing. And I'm told that as they repair that, and you would know this better than I, as they repair that, they can't match that paint. So they got to paint the whole thing to make it look right.
Okay.
Any more questions? Have a motion by Mr. Madison, second by Mr. Fogarty. All in favor? Unanimous. CCRPI presentation.
This is the district presentation and the principals next month. We'll break all of this down into the individual schools. Again, I want the board to understand that, as always, it seems like the CCRPI rules have changed, the goals have changed, the direction has changed from the state. That's not our direction change, that's the state changing things again. Will they stick with it for another year? We don't know, but this is the newest recommendation from them, and this is what we're going, what we have to go with. So, Mr. Williams, if you'll explain, we will go from there.
All right, now you see here, this is just to state what they describe as the College and Career Performance Index, comprehensive school improvement, accountability, and communication platform for all educational stakeholders. We will promote college and career readiness for all Georgia public school students, and that's a major focus, is trying to get people college and or career ready. Basically, college, prep, vocational, just different words, basically what they're trying to say, what we're doing for students. Now, the goals, they gave us 5 goals to increase achievement for all students, make progress in closing achievement gaps, increase literacy and numeracy, increase graduation rates, and increase student college and career readiness. Now, it has changed, it's the redesign. So as Dr. Light was saying, that they have changed it now. You get a score from a 0 to 100-point scale. And in the elementary and middle school, you have 4 major components, which consist of 11 things that go into to give you those 4 components. That's a decrease from elementary from 21. It was 21 indicators previously to 11. In the middle school, it was 19 indicators, now it's 11. Readiness counts 20%, content mastery, which is about basically how they perform on the milestones. Progress, which is how they perform on the milestones, but are they progressing from year to year in what they call student growth percentile. Closing the gaps is, again, dealing with what the students do on the Georgia Milestones assessment. And it's changed because it used to be used to compare it to a state data, a state number that they would give you. Now you're comparing against your own performance at your own school. So it's not an arbitrary number that the state gives you. It's kind of based on what you do. It's still kind of arbitrary, but it's a little better than what it was before. So you can see 80% elementary middle school is pretty much based off just your milestones. 20% is readiness, and that deals with Lexile scores, beyond the core, which is electives and things that we offer in pathways to offer in elementary school, and it goes in student attendance. All that goes in the readiness category. The high school, same category except one addition, graduation rate, that counts 15%. So the categories are breaking, are lesser than the elementary. But at high school, you have 15 indicators, 15 things you're looking at that go into those 5 categories to give you a score. But all in all, you see for the high school, 70% of your score is pretty much tied to how your students doing the milestones. Now, this is what we scored as a district this year. Even though it's a new redesigned system, you really can't compare from one year to another. The baseline will be what we did this year and then see how we go. But for comparison purposes, we did show just kind of some similar districts based on enrollment as students with disabilities, just so we can kind of see and gauge what kind of happened to other districts. As you can see, we went down from 80.2 to 76.2. Clinch County, Irvin County, Manuel County, Bullock, Statesboro, Main County, Swainsbury, they had a slight increase. Charlton and Taylor County went down. Just kind of shows you that you'll see just in those districts that a lot of districts did go down just because of the redesign. Now, if you look at just in the CSRA, we did decrease, but you'll see in the CSRA, we are as a district second in the CSRA. Columbia County did show an increase. Some other schools did show an increase, and you can see that out of those ones in our district in the CSRA, we did have several of them decreased. So again, we're not really comparing from one year to the other, not a fair comparison, but we're just showing that there are some increases and decreases with particular districts in our area, and showing where we rank again. Second, right behind their Columbia County. All right, now you see here. I also want to say the state average is 76.6, so we're pretty much right in line with the state average as a district at 76.2. All right, so some of the things we have done well on, they are going into specific detail how their score is calculated, but we do want to highlight some various great things that our students are doing. As you can see, the ones that are highlighted is where we have outperformed the state and the RESA. In third grade, we have ELA and math. In fourth grade, we outperform ELA and math. The only two subjects they're tested in. In fifth grade, we outperform all. And particularly look at that science with that 70 compared. 70% of students are proficient compared to the RESA and the state at 34 and 39. In sixth grade, we still doing pretty decently. Seventh grade in math, we outperform. In eighth grade, you can see in three areas we outperform the system, state and the RESA. Ninth grade literature, we have the same. In Algebra 1, we outperformed the state and really did a great job above the RESA at 14%. You'll see biology and physical science, and you'll see even in the USA history and economics. We may not have beat the state, but we were well above the RESA and their scores. And lastly, just again showing like where do we rank in terms of our achievement, in terms of our students on the milestones. In the RESA, the school districts, fifth is science, our fifth grade science, fifth grade social studies, fifth grade math, eighth grade algebra 1. Those students earn that high school credit. Eighth grade math and geometry, we're number 1 out of the RESA. That includes Columbia County and all the districts. And third and second place, if you're ranking them, third grade math, third grade ELA, fourth math, fifth ELA, eighth grade social studies, algebra 1, physical science, economics. And number 3 and 4th ELA, 6th in math, biology, U.S. history, 7th math, 7th English, and 8th science. So you can see as you just go you look at the score and then you kind of look at our achievement, you'll see that we're doing exceptional not only just in our district in this area, but also compared to districts in the state. Now next month, they'll go in more specific detail of how each school, because the district score is just the average of the 3 school scores. So they're going more detail about how they particularly got their scores, things like that. But that's what we have concerning the CCRPI for this year, where we as a district are 76.2 compared, you can see the other districts we have in our RESA.
Michael, the numbers for 16-17, if they were below 60, they were considered, quote, on the watch list. Is that number going to remain the same with this new reevaluation, or do we know yet?
Well, we're not a comprehensive, the CSI, they got new names. Used to be focus school, target schools. Now it's the targeted school intervention and the CSI comprehensive school intervention. We're not on a CSI list. They haven't reached the TSI targeted school list, which I think we're not going to be in, because they're going not by your score, they're going by subgroups and categories and comparing it if you're in the bottom percentage in the state for over, I think, 3 consecutive years or 3 years, right. I think, and we're not in that, nowhere in that boat.
Correct, but I'm just looking at some of the schools that now are that weren't in the prior year. I'm wondering if that number is going to stay true.
Well, it's kind of state is kind of changing from we're trying to get you to kind of we're trying to help you. So they've kind of relaxed some of those things and just your raw score, and they're going into minor details of what if you have a particular subgroup. I think for 3 consecutive years, your subgroups are forming at the bottom. If you're a Title I school, they look a little more stringent. I could pretty much know from working in one of those districts that's on there towards the bottom. I think they've probably been last 3-4 years on their way. They may see some targeted intervention from the state to assist them. As they see, they're kind of first year. They had. I'm not saying they're tinkering with things, but it's not fully, I guess, thought out in terms of, or the details have not fully been explained on how they're gonna, what kind of intervention they're gonna give. But we're far away from any type of intervention. Nowhere close.
Okay.
But whereas our principals tell you they're doing things to still improve their scores, regardless of what the state may or may not do.
Thank you, sir.
Next on the agenda are policies for review.
Doing other things. We have 4 policies that we're recommending stay in review. The first one is the local tax revenues, which is currently locked at 20 mills like it is across the state. And if the board wants to go above 20 mills, you have to have the county commissioners leverage additional votes to be able to accommodate that. I'm recommending that stays in review. Staff rights and responsibilities of drug and alcohol-free workplace. This is very consistent with other policies across the state, and it gives us the opportunity, if we suspect that we can require testing of that individual. And I'm recommending that stays in review. Personnel testing and drug and alcohol abuse. This policy is targeting random testing and after an accident testing for employees that hold a CDL. Most of it is bus drivers, but it's also maintenance and people that drive our vehicles, and that needs to stay in place for state and federal law requirements. And the last one is personal health examinations. It gives us as a board the opportunity to ask someone if they are no longer fit or it's interfering with their job performance, such as excessive absences. We could request them to see a doctor, and it gives us that option, and it is required by the state, obviously, that the bus drivers go for health examination as well.
Okay. Do you want to have any questions on those policies for review? All right, then we're going to move on to the superintendent's reports.
I just have one. The district determination rubric is a special education requirement that is done annually. The past 2 years, we've been trying to get somewhere between 90 and 95. We finally have gotten back to 100, and Dr. E has been driving that train to get us back to 100 where we need to be. Some of that is beyond our control. Some of it we can control. And I'm glad to see the 100, and I hope that it stays right there where it belongs.
Good job. All right, now we need a motion to go into executive session. A motion by Mr. Fogarty, second by Mr. Cox. All in favor? All right, I want to call our meeting back to order. It is recommended that, and I make a motion that we hire, or that we approve Mr. Preload Mickens as a substitute bus driver for the remainder of the 2018-2019 school year. I have a second by Mr. Fogarty. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended, and I make a motion, that we accept the retirement of Ms. Faith Hill effective December 2018, contingent upon finding a qualified replacement. Have a second by Mr. Cox. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended, and I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Mr. Wayne Henderson, effective November 27th, 2018. Second by Mr. Madison, all in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended that we hire we move Mr. Jeffrey Porter. It is recommended, and I make a motion that we move Mr. Jeffrey Porter from his 10-month employee position to a 12-month groundkeeper position. I have a second by Mr. Cox. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended, and I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Mr. Michael Chastain, effective immediately from his bus driving duties. I have a second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous. Anything else? All right.
I'll make a motion to go home.
Have a motion by Mr. Bowden, second by Mr. Cox. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Gentlemen.